Very violent tonight, man, aren't you? Fight,
No,
fight,
that's
fight, says you.
I've
That's the sound of the police. That's the sound of the beast. That's the sound of the police. That's the
Again,
sound of
everybody,
the
welcome to another episode of Fat Monkey Two Blokes and a Ball. My name is Craig,
I'm Matt.
and tonight we've got a very special guest, the Great British Police Rugby League team manager, Chris Cowling. Good evening, Chris. Nice to meet you.
Good evening, nice to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
When you say meet you, it's kind of virtual. We've not shook hands or anything.
That's it. Way of the world now, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. Everything's virtual now. You'll be walking around in them goggles next to doing shopping.
Well, I only have to meet you virtually as well, Craig.
Thanks for that. Listen, first of all, let's get a bit of history and a bit of background behind how, why, when, and where the police rugby league team community as well. You know what I mean? You're another one that falls under our list that you don't get paid to play. Even though you get paid from your job, and then that's part of your job. It's nothing to do. You don't get actually paid to play rugby league as a professional sportsman. So yeah, a bit of history. When did it start?
Yeah, so from a personal point of view, really, I suppose I should touch on. I've been in the police now for just coming up to 17 years. I think throughout that 17 years, I've been involved with Police Rugby League as both a player and then sort of finishing, probably around 2015. Then moved into the management side as a West Yorkshire officer. My obviously roots are that side of the border. So again, played for West Yorkshire. And obviously the Great Britain or the British Police side as well. But ultimately, yeah, the British Police side sort of formed in 1992. A good friend of mine, an ex-Bradford Bulls prop, John Hamer, who was a player at the time, he sort of went on and did a lot of work with police rugby, driving that forward. Right. Initially, sort of from a force perspective, so the British Police side is fed by the regional teams, if you like, primarily through that M62 corridor of Yorkshire, Lancashire, Greater Manchester Police. I think in the initial days, Humberside had a team, North Yorkshire turned a side out, and the Met as well, the Metropolitan Police, they also had a side. As you'd expect over years, the nature of policing has changed and comes with it the rugby as well. We were back in the day, maybe given a bit more time to play sport, time off for sport. But, as things are, and rightly so, the job comes first. So things have changed in that respect. It's a forever changing player base, again, depending on officers that are recruited into the force, officers that are finishing playing, hanging up the boots and, maybe focusing on families and the work. Yeah. But yeah, ultimately it kicked off in 1992 with those four sides taking part against each other, which then fed the British Police side, and sort of from there it's really kicked on as part of the national fixtures that we play in, the representative fixtures, if you like. So I suppose moving on to as things are now, we're playing the Challenge Cup. We are invited into that, which is a massive part of our agenda. So we'll go in at the first round. First and second round are normally about our limits. We are pushing. We'll make history if we can make that third round. But yeah, that's fantastic, a great occasion, and again that takes us out. Yeah, that takes us out into those community clubs, if you like, that we wouldn't ordinarily engage with. Certainly, the British Police is a representative team. And hence we will then play the representative sides, the forces teams, Army, Navy, RAF, GB.
So structure-wise, other teams, do you recruit from teams? So it is like, let's, for example, as St Helens Division, Police Division got a team, and as Warrington got a team, and then you recruit from them to play for the British team.
Yeah, that's right. So, first and foremost, everybody that takes part in police rugby is involved with the police, either as a serving officer or member of police staff. There's no one brought in from outside of that. If you're a West Yorkshire officer and you want to get involved with rugby league, whatever level you may be at, we are governed by Police Sport UK, our governing body, if you like, within the police setup, the police environment. Falling under that then are the force teams, and anybody can choose to set one up. Again, it just depends on, I suppose, the interest in rugby league, and as you're aware, it is generally the north of England where the players will come from. That's it. So West Yorkshire, Merseyside, Cheshire have combined recently to form one team, and then Lancashire and JMP, Greater Manchester Police, have also combined to form another side. Again, rugby league is a small world, isn't it? And certainly within the police as well. Everyone knows everybody. The GB lads come together, so it does make it easier for those sides to come together if they are struggling with players, etc., and merge the teams together as well. So that's where we are at the moment. Humberside have been out of police rugby as a force team for a number of years, really. But as of this year, they have pulled the side back together, which is fantastic, really. Fantastic for the guys in Humberside, and also ultimately these players and the rest of the teams feed into the GB side.
Sorry to put you there. So let's say, for example, you knew of somebody up in Humberside who was a decent player. He played at, I don't know, played at one of the clubs up there. But Humberside don't have a side. So the first question would be, could he play for West Yorks, or does he have to play for Humberside? Second of all, because he doesn't play for a force, could he still represent GB?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've had players in the past from maybe South Yorkshire Police or a couple of lads in North Yorkshire that are tied to the York clubs. They don't strictly have a full side running, but they will sort of step in and play for the closest force area. So they will join West Yorkshire. We might have lads that fall over the other side of the Pennines that will jump in with a couple of lads in Cumbria, Jimmy Motum, and a couple of others that have been involved with GB Police for a long time. They will probably drop down and play for Greater Manchester, Lancashire sides as well. And recently as well, we have brought in a lad from Police Scotland as well, Ross Muir, which again is great for us. So he comes down from Glasgow and so he pulls on a GB shirt for us as well. So that's great that we are now. It has been tricky. Police rugby by nature is tricky because of the nature of the job, which I know we may touch on with the shift patterns and player availability, etc. Since I've sort of come on board, my assistant team manager Alex Daniels, who's head of our sort of community work and social media side, we've really tried to make a conscious effort. We've brought in one or two others on the committee, and there's been a turnaround there. Mark Hobin coming in, who is the chair at Portico Vine Panthers. Mark has worth his weight in gold and has done, an excellent job in throwing out some new ideas amongst the committee and how police rugby can develop and move forward. So I think, we are in a good place at the moment. There are new players coming through in terms of recruitment, and that only bodes well for the force sides, but then ultimately the GB side as well.
Yeah. So have your four sides organised games? There's no league? So obviously you get invited into the Challenge Cup, but I guess you don't play in the North West Men's League or the Northern Counties or something like that. You just play against each other effectively in like a round robin type thing, friendlies almost.
Yeah. So again, we had the dip with COVID. The GB side, and again, it all comes down to probably hands on and hands in the background that can assist myself and Alex and one or two others. The GB head coach is a chap called Bob Marsden, who's from Rochdale over there. Bob is not a serving officer. Bob has come from outside, but has the relevant coaching qualifications. And his son, Ben Marsden, is the current GB police captain as well. So again, Bob has done a fantastic job coming in with Jim Forster, who was the assistant coach. Again, another GMP officer, who's the head coach at Oldham Rugby Union, believe it or not. So yeah, they've done a great job in getting their head around the system and how it works. But yeah, ultimately, the force games will be played. That provides Bob and Jim with or certainly will do moving forward with selection opportunities to pick players for the GB side. And the GB side will play in the Challenge Cup at the beginning of the year. And then we roll into sort of the months we are now. March, April and May is the President's Cup, where that's an annual competition where we as the police will play against GB teachers, England universities and the armed forces in a bit of a round robin tournament. So that's
England universities, is that teacher lecturers rather than students? You're not going to be playing against
England universities are students. Yeah, English students. So,
wow.
yeah,
I've watched some of their because I went to Loughborough, so I've watched some of the it was Booster when I was there, but they've just had the Rugby League finals, haven't they? The university one, there's some decent players in the universities there, some decent players.
Yeah, very good side. Physically, as a police team, we're able to stand up to them quite well. As a young, skillful, fit, athletic side, very difficult to play against. And then you throw into the mix the Forces team, which again, some very skillful players in there, along with the size and the fitness as well. And the
we've been
teachers.
Quite lucky, haven't we? We've been quite lucky in terms of that because obviously the sportsmen have covered the Challenge Cup. So I think the RAF and was it the Army played at Old St James's recently. So we've seen the Forces in. There's your challenge from FatMonkey to the GB Police. We want to see you on the Sportsmen in the Challenge Cup in 2025.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that'll be cracking, won't it? But no.
Quick one here. How does this coincide with your working schedule, really? I mean, are you still? I mean, obviously we've got lads, open age lads, and that the training twice a week, playing on a weekend. I know you're not playing as often. How often are you training? And is it during working hours? Or are you doing it in the evening? Or I mean, you can't all be on the same shift pattern, surely.
No, we're not. We're all different, various different teams, across the country, really, from the different forces that we come from. We have some officers that are the general response officers working shift. We have firearms officers on public order, those that are in investigations in CID, various different shift patterns. But yeah, ultimately between sort of the small group that sit on the community and work with myself, just do the best we can. The job comes first. A lot of the lads do play amateur rugby. We have we still had a couple of lads on the semi-professional side. Rob Warrensey, Sam Wild, who is currently playing a second at Widnes, and a couple of other lads. Scott Leatherbarrow, had previous experience playing sort of all manner of clubs from Wigan through to Batley and Oldham, etc. And then Michael Ostick as well, who'd previously finished playing with sort of a long career as a professional with Lee, Halifax and Widnes as well. So he's finished the rugby, joined as an officer now in the Cheshire Force. But yeah, so we ultimately just find the time when we can. We probably, if we're lucky, we'll train 3 times a year, and it's just a case of identifying probably a Sunday morning when the lads aren't playing on a Saturday for their community clubs. Lads will take time off to come and train. Those that are on rest days will come and train. And yeah, it's just a case of doing what we can, really.
Suppose if you're given the opportunity to represent GB Police, we had this the other week with the Lions, didn't we? If you're strapping on a GB jersey, you'll crawl over hot coals regardless of what the GB team is. So you'll put a day's leave in, won't you, or something like that to make sure you're available.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes as well that there has been times in the past, certainly through the time I've been involved, where lads can sometimes go through the motions and probably just we'll drop on a game. We'll certainly take time off to play a game, but maybe don't really understand what it means to pull on that shirt. But actually, we've tried to change that ethos, change that mentality as well, and just in the field that we are in. We are representing our country. There are thousands of police officers and police staff in the country, but actually there's 17 blokes that are going to pull on a GB shirt and represent their country. Some real pride in that. And obviously, comes with that as well is the incentive that we go on tour as well. So again, over the years, we've been to, I think we were in Australia in 2008 for the Police World Cup. And then since then, we've been to Jacksonville in America, Vancouver in Canada to take on New Zealand police over there. We met them and played. Shorter European tours for the forces, to Madrid, to Latvia, and a lot of other places, Malta. And again, that's just about developing rugby league as well. So taking the police brand and developing some of these smaller nations, smaller police sides. But yeah, ultimately, and as you're probably aware, we've just come back from a 2-week tour to Australia.
Yeah.
Well, we'll touch on that in a minute, but just before we leave that then. So obviously, to take a day off to play a game against West Yorkshire against Cheshire is one thing. To take 19 days off, 20 days off to go tour in Australia, that's some leave. Was there any sort of kind of in fact, we'll touch on that later on. Remind me when we go to the Aussie tour, because I want to bring that in, because that is some commitment. If you're having to take unpaid leave to go for 19 days, but like we say, we'll get there and see what. Just, are you okay with that, Craig? Are you?
Yeah. I think you're going to touch on it soon anyway. I was going to ask you about obviously requirements. You touched on it a little bit, but yeah, crack on. I know what's coming next. Back off it, man.
Yeah, so for me now, I was taking it into the community game because obviously I've seen that you do play Warrington on the 4th in a charity game. Obviously, everything you've explained there, the testosterone and bravado of playing against the RAF, playing against the army, it's the police are harder than the RAF and this, that and the other. I get that. Yeah. When you come up against, do you play community sides? And if so, does that create the barriers of them putting 110% or trying a late shot because you're a cop? When you're on that field, are you deemed as a cop and therefore you get a little bit more sort of harsher treated, if you know what I mean? Someone wanting to give a bit back for the time you took the details outside the spa when they were 13.
What he's asking is do people thump you on purpose? That's what he's asking. Yeah.
It's a perfect opportunity for some sides to get one over on the police. Lovers or haters. But no, I suppose in terms of the real sort of community game, the grassroots clubs, the time we come up against those sides are ultimately the Challenge Cup. First and second round draws. Last year, we've missed a year this year with being in Australia, but last year we had Featherstone Lions in the first round and Westgate Common in the second round. So, two really great sort of community clubs there. But, we've always sort of found it in good nature, really. There certainly is that banter. There's the banter on social media. The clubs use it themselves to advertise the game and build up. But, I have to say, whenever we do play, and again, love or hate the police, there is always that interest in us. And I have to say that the clubs have been great. The supporters have been great. The lads on the field play hard. We expect any game to be tough. And that's about us sticking together as police officers, as a rugby team, and doing what we can to get through a game. So
I think it shows the interest in the police that we're wanting to do a podcast with you, because I think it is really, really good to get people's awareness of it. I was only thinking of Craig as a 13-year-old kid growing up and bearing grudges, and if he came up against you, he'd try and late shot. I can see it coming from him.
I suppose I was just going to touch on as well, really, that I suppose it's one of them with the nature of with policing. There's always going to be people that support us, and there's always going to be critics as well. And some people may look at this and think, actually, good on you guys for what you do out in the community, on and off the pitch. Others might think, actually, there's work to be done. There isn't time to be playing rugby. It's taxpayers' money, and you should be out there, serving the public. But I think it does a lot, touching on the mental health side of things as well, really. The police always try, to I would certainly say in West Yorkshire anyway, to try and look after officers, make sure you have got that, welfare, that support, time away from the job, and to be able to come together with like-minded people, obviously, that are in the job as well, but then play the sport that you love. I think that's massive for everyone involved, and it is that outlet from the job as well, and probably that break from the routine of, dare I say it, family life and kids and everything else that goes with it. So
I think that's one of the strongest messages that does come out of this, that you're not doing it in work's time. I think people need to realise that you're taking days off, or you're doing it on your rest days. You're not doing it in taxpayers' money time. You're doing it in your days off. So for me, I doff my cap. One more question before we move on from the police on the rugby field. But when I was playing rugby, it was 1 in all in was the rule. So if a scrap started, 30, it turned into a 26-man scrap because 1 in all in.
Very violent tonight, man. Yeah, fight.
As that first punch goes in from someone to one of your players, or the vice versa, do you run in straight away, or do you think, I'm a cop, I can't go in?
We always try and, I suppose from my side, I certainly have a sensible head on. Now I'm off the field as opposed to on it.
No, to go back to when you were on the field. No corporate answer. Go back to when you were on the field.
No, I suppose, to be honest, I'm only 5'7" myself, so I was always stood at the back. So, think about what to say here. But no, in the heat of the moment, to some extent, it is a 1 in all in. But it's about sticking up for, certainly for yourself and your players. But I have to say, there is always that brief before our games of, look, remember who you're representing.
Yeah.
As we know now, times have moved on. There are mobile phones everywhere. There are cameras everywhere. Things, and I think the referees as well are a lot better in the games, or they seem to be a lot better than times gone by. We've certainly have. People can see by records of games, British police players have been sent off for getting involved in incidents on the field that probably shouldn't have happened. That unfortunately comes with the territory, the nature of the game. But yeah, I would certainly say that as a side, we would be a lot more controlled than your average team out there. I'd be very confident in saying that. Yeah.
Very sensible answer, that, Chris. Well done.
Yeah. I had to think that. Yeah.
Listen, you've touched on a lot of positives there about the game, and a lot of positives, obviously, with your job and the community and all the lads together. What about any negatives? Well, what about the impact on your job? What about the impact on your home life, any social life? Does it take anything away from that, trying to be involved as being a copper and being a rugby player? Or in your case, being a copper and being a manager, trying to manage a group of lads?
Yeah, I certainly think for myself personally, again, we have been going through, I say, a bit of a transition period again. We have a committee structure in place. Those are some of the more higher ranking officers. Those are the sort of the terms or the conditions of police sport, that there is a committee structure with a senior ranking officer that sits as chair. For myself, sort of at that ground management level with myself and a couple of others, it certainly has been difficult over recent years. It certainly is changing now. There's more people coming on board. Ex-players are finishing and wanting to come on board, probably seeing the good things that are going on. So Mark Hoban has come on, who again, is worth his weight in gold. But yeah, there are times it goes in peaks and troughs, really, depending on when we're building up to a fixture. Luckily, there's not a fixture for us every week that commands that weekly training and weekly organisation. So we can have a couple of months and then things start to build up again. But yeah, it's certainly getting easier. And I just think my family certainly are very supportive, and I think understand that it's a passion, isn't it, to want to do it. So we don't get paid for it, nor does any other amateur player or member of staff. It's purely for the passion and the love of the game. So as long as I've still got that in me, then I would always do this, and certainly proud to represent GB Police as well. Yeah.
So how does the job sort of view rugby in respect of? So I had not 6 months off work. I had 3 months off work because I ruptured my patella tendon playing football. So say you get injured playing for GB Police, have you got any kind of additional cover? Would you be threatened with all kinds of disciplinary action for doing something like that in your own time? And I know obviously you talked about players who play on a Saturday amateur rugby anyway, so they take that risk on a weekly basis anyway. Yeah. But in terms of representing the police, is there any added protection for injury or such?
Yeah, to be fair, it's quite well supported. There have been players sometimes that will there are periods, depending, and again we'll touch on it with the tour, where there are sort of special dispensation and you would get a certain percentage of your time back to play sport. Granted, you don't get a free shift off or anything like that. But yeah, if players are injured representing police sport, they are supported by the job. Again, they will certainly push it as much as they can. Again, from that mental health, physical fitness side of things. As you're aware, it's not just rugby. There's football sides right down to fishing, chess. Every sort of sport or hobby you can imagine is there for police to go out and do. But yeah, it's certainly supported. There have been players that have broken bones and had some serious injuries whilst playing for the police. But yeah, they've always been well supported, and certainly by the bosses as well, which is good.
It's good to know that you've got support behind you. Obviously, from a work point of view, you know what I mean. Yeah. So it's good. And surely that relieves a lot of pressure as well. Knowing that you can go in and you can give it your all playing the game, knowing that if heaven forbid something happens, covered, because you're not always there. If I go out and play a game of rugby tomorrow and my workplace said, no, you've injured yourself, I'm sorry, it's tough. You're off work, you're on sick pay, it's 17 for the day for 3 days. And you're knackered, really, to do.
Yeah.
So, you was going to mention the Aussie tour, Matt, wasn't you?
I was because this is what one of the main reasons we got you on is because obviously you've just been down to Australia. It looked like you'd had an absolute scream down there. 28 in total, 23 lads, is that right?
Yeah, so 28 tour party, 23 players, and then backroom staff and our physio as well that came with us. Yeah.
Right. So I think you've probably touched on it with some of the stuff you said earlier, but just talk us through the selection process for that. How you get to. So you did say obviously that it's dependent on availability and stuff like that. There's no cop in the world surely that would turn down the opportunity to go into Australia for however long. So I'm guessing your pool of talent swelled dramatically compared to a wet Wednesday in Portico, shall we say?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And we touched right back when police rugby sort of formed back in 1992. The British Police, I think, one of the first tours they went on at the time was at Australia to take on the Australia Police out there, and it's kind of kicked on from there really. And it's probably a bit of, dare I say, a bit of an incentive as well to keep that enthusiasm, to keep them numbers there, because given our geographical locations and the nature of the job, it would probably be easy for some of the lads to drift. But actually, if we have these tours set in place to work towards, it certainly gives us a bit of an incentive and ensure that the numbers for the training sessions and the games, when probably they may wane off, actually stay high. So the latest one, we've been out to Australia at the end of February. That was a 2 week tour, was out to Sydney. But yeah, so this one's been a long time coming, really. We started putting the wheels in motion with this one in 2019 with a view to going in September 2020. The last time we had played the Australian Police was when they came over for the Police World Cup in 2013. And it was always our intentions to try and get back across there and take on, the Aussies in their own backyard. Ultimately, I think certainly rugby league, but for many sports, going out to Australia and playing out there is the pinnacle. Be it an amateur side, community side, a professional team, right up Super League level, etc. So, for us as a place, it was it's important to try and set this goal of selecting the strongest squad possible, keeping that interest up, and then taking a 23-man playing squad out to Australia. Unfortunately, with COVID and the way of the world, then it was delayed and has been for some years till we eventually got things back on track. Booked a trip again, liaised with our Australian police, our counterparts over there, and put things in place. And ultimately that happened, and we've just been back a couple of weeks now. So, how did you go about your 23? Because if we're saying, did we say 3 sides or 4 representative sides? So, Langston GMP. Yeah. Cheshire, Merseyside, West Yorkshire. Is there 3 forces then that you get to choose from? So you got West. Yeah, so you got three main forces really, and then there's 1 or 2 lads, or certainly one from Cumbria as well, that's from
Police Scotland as well.
Yeah, one from Police Scotland. Ross had just joined us sort of relatively too late to make the Australia trip, unfortunately. But yeah, generally, when we went back to 2019, there was a player on the Hoggins down from Thames Valley. We have until recently had a couple of players, Jack Snowden and John McLeod from Humberside, 2 great players certainly over the last 10 years that have represented GB Police, albeit not through a Humberside squad, but have been able to step into the West Yorkshire team. They've just sort of recently finished. But yeah, generally that hotbed, and then you're as we touched on, the Merseyside, Cheshire teams. But yeah, so the last couple of years it's been Bob and Jim Foster's sort of goal to say, look, we're going out there to take on the Australia Police. Ultimately, who wants to be a part of it? Put yourselves out there. Let's make sure that absolutely where possible we can commit to our games. Yeah, and ultimately pick a squad from. I think when you work across the number of players that we have to select from that would be considered, good enough to represent GB in those representative fixtures, you're probably talking somewhere in the region of 40 players, 45 players.
Right. So good squad size then, really good. Yeah, good.
Yeah. So yeah, so to pick the 23-man squad, there are inevitably, or there was inevitably 1 or 2 people that we had to leave out. It generally, by the time it comes to it, picks itself, because there are all sorts of things. While probably most would always want to go and wouldn't want to turn a trip down like that, there are family family matters. There are officers that may be going through promotion boards or firearms courses, etc. And it just comes at a time when it's probably just too difficult to give up that 2 weeks and go away.
What about the money side of it? It's just sprung to mind now. So obviously, so the Lions lads, open age lads, are going to Australia, and they've got to find $5,000 of their own money. And initially they've got to find £1,000 by the 31st of April, just as a deposit to put down. Basically, that's if they get picked to use the place. Yeah. How does the money work with your side? Who pays for that?
Yeah, so financing side, Great Britain Police side, we go out and try and find sponsors. Obviously, Talent is our main sponsor and have been for a few years. They've been fantastic with us, and ultimately there's one or two other sponsors that have come on board recently. Edgar Brothers that have a link into the police by supplying firearms and munitions to all the firearms across England. Attack Group that provide sort of first aid care and treatment, so they're on board with us. Help Locks. So somewhere along the line, the sponsors have links in or have good relationships with the police through their line of work. They will provide that sponsorship, and then ultimately the lads will pay the rest. So we can subsidise it so much through the sponsorship through Great Britain Police, and then the lads will find the rest of the money themselves by the personal sponsors or from their own pocket.
Are you going to tell us how much it costs per player? Because I'm intrigued on why it costs somebody representing the country so much. I'm going back to the England Lions. It doesn't cost $5,000 to us, is it?
Well, no, and it's like anything, and I suppose when we came to book it in 2019, the price was significantly different to when it was 4 or 5 years later. Just again, the way of the world, costs have gone up and everything else. But yeah, we were looking, I think, about £2,500 for 12 nights with the travel included, sort of 14. So yeah, two weeks in total, but 2,500. Yeah, to go out there.
Can't get our head around that $5,000 figure for the community Lions, can we? It blows us away how they are into rates. $5,000 to go.
We're on about the younger lads, won't we, going to Jamaica? It costs them $5,000.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it's one of them as well. I know, obviously, when you're out there, aside from the games, we put an itinerary in place. Thankfully, the Australia Police Rugby out there, as you'd expect, is really well supported. Where we as Great Britain Police probably pick from a pool of, let's say, 100 players. In New South Wales alone, they're probably talking 450 players. They have their own police leagues out there, and they pick their Australian side to play us from a pretty much state of origin New South Wales Police against Queensland, and then the affiliated states, so everyone else from Melbourne and wherever, so they pull their side in. So the police, out there were really supportive of us. We were able to do some fantastic things. They had us training at the New South Wales Centre of Excellence. We played our fixtures at Leichhardt Oval, home of the West Tigers. Stadium tours at the we had a team photograph at the Sydney Cricket Ground in front of the old pavilion. So what they did for us. So that for us didn't come at a cost, but actually, if you're taking maybe a community side out there without them, those extra things are going to bulk that cost up maybe. So that could be where it comes from.
Yeah, maybe. Well, if you get enough sponsorship next year and you need 2 guys to come out with a rugby ball and film, then I think we're here. We'll put a bid in nearly does.
We'll do anything for a free meals, anything.
That's it. I tell you, I'd have gone out there as a player any day. The work that goes into the management side of it. But I get all sorts of comments saying, I can't believe you're going out there to be a water boy and taxpayers' money and you're going on a 2-week holiday. And I've had it all. We get it all from everybody. But yeah,
fantastic. Fantastic. And obviously, so you played Australia, but you just said there you played New South Wales. Did you play statesides as well?
Yeah. So what happened with it was New South Wales Police, whilst the national team tours like GB does, we've also been on sort of local tours as well, if you like, with West Yorkshire. Again, sort of on these are more development tours, really. Certainly for the West Yorkshire and the Force teams, we've been to Malta, Madrid. Latvia, we've been sort of all manner of sort of local European, where rugby league is probably again still in development phase, and we go across and again with our brand and try and improve that. So it's the same in Australia, really, that whilst they have their Australian team, the New South Wales and the Queensland team also like to get away. I'm not quite sure it went down with the Australian police or went down too well with the Australian police rugby league, but New South Wales made the decision to come across to the UK in September of last year. Wow. So we played New South Wales at St Helens at the Totally Wicked Stadium in September.
Oh, wow.
So whilst I suppose in some respect kind of detracted from us planning and prepping our trip to Australia, it was great really in that we were able to build those bonds with some of the Australian guys that sat on the committee for the Australian police before going over there. So we certainly looked after them here and the favour was returned. So going back to it, we played Australia as the first game and then we played New South Wales as a second game 3 days later. Probably to return the favour or from the fixture what we played.
Battered and bruised bodies though 3 days after playing the Aussies, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was tough. The lads were excellent against Australia. It's as close to being a professional rugby player as some of them or most of us will ever get. Really, we were able to be there to focus purely on the rugby. We were able to train at outstanding facilities without the need to come off the back of a night shift or dash off to pick your kids up from school, and it just improves the quality of the squad and the playing ability by 10, 20, 30% really. So we were able to go into that Australia game and absolutely gave everything, and we were unlucky to lose really 18-6, and we probably had chances in that game to win it, but ultimately then when you play that quality of side, you then roll into a New South Wales side that's as strong as the Australian team. And it just, some of the lads were bashed, and it just took a lot out of it. I think physically and mentally, and the scoreline sort of ran away with it. I think it ended up finishing. I think it was 50 points to 8 in the end, which actually sounds like a real battering. But we were in the game, at half time. It was 80-degree heat out there. It was real tough rugby, but a great experience, and that's what touring's all about. So yeah.
I know we don't touch on Super League really here, but that's some achievement getting to play at the Totally Wicked as well. I think that's really good relationship and how much they value the GB police. How did that come about? How did you get to play there?
Yeah, so the contact there was Mike Rush. So Hobbs at Portico Vine, I'd had some previous involvement with St Helens again, sort of from the community side over in Merseyside. But ultimately as well, and probably this is where the kind of level of it sits. So New South Wales, their ambassador is Paul Suranen, the great sort of New South Wales Australia forward, obviously. But Curtis, his son, is playing at St Helens.
Is it Saints? Yeah.
So we had certainly some contact with Mike Rush and the team at Saints, who again were fantastic with us, and we're more than happy to accommodate. But we just got in touch with Paul Suranen at that side and sort of gave him a little nudge as well, and all of a sudden the game was confirmed and we were on St Olympics. So you had to use your contact. But
I was going to say you can't slate the contacts over there, because didn't you get sent off by someone special over sent off? I don't mean sent off as in readied. I meant sent off to Australia with someone special who came over to meet you as a squad before you went.
Yeah, so that's right. We had a final training session, stroke kit distribution date at Oldham just before we went to Australia, and Barry McDermott came over and spoke to some of the lads. Barry's a good friend with Bob, our head coach, and was able to come and share some real inspirational words really to the lads about what it means to pull on a GB shirt. Actually, the important thing is probably those that are playing, but equally those that are not going to be selected. And that you're all a link, and if someone breaks that link, breaks that chain, then it won't work out there. You'll not get out of the trip what you want to get out of it. So some real good words from Barry Mack, and that was great.
Good,
yeah,
good stuff. I think we touched on it before. Did we actually get an answer? So in terms of time off, how did that work for the lads having?
Yeah, so the time off, whilst we've spoken quite frequently about the lads taking the time off their own time to play the game. The tour and some of the GB fixtures, certainly for the Challenge Cup, are slightly different. We are entitled to what we call 50% time back for sport. Again, it's agreed by Police Sport UK. So if the lads have to take a day off to get to a game, to travel from the other side of the country, etc., they are able to take, if that will cost them 8 hours leave a day, they will only have to take 50% of that time, so it would be 4 hours. Okay, for the time spent in Australia of a 12 days, it was like 6 days leave. Right. So again, still a chunk of leave, but certainly a massive help, and that's in place for national police sport, not the local fixtures, West Yorkshire Lancs fixtures, those local, but certainly the national fixtures do get support in that respect.
Are you available to? Sorry, Matt, go on.
No, go on. Sorry, I was just saying I'm dead envious.
So, are you available really to get involved in more fixtures? What if we say we've got an event coming up and we want to invite GB Police and get stuck in a
so we'd always look at the beginning of the year. It just comes down to I could, given how we are sort of developing and what, we're doing out in the community and on social media, our profiles raised massively. A lot of people are interested and do want fixtures with us. I could make this a full-time job, no questions asked. It would take that much of my time. But ultimately, there is only so much we can do. The fixtures and kind of where we go throughout the course of a season generally comes through myself. And you can only give so much time to it, bearing in mind if you want to squeeze the force fixtures in, your Yorkshire, Lancashires, Merseyside, Cheshires, etc. There's probably only time for, even if you had a fixture a month, it's 12 games. You wouldn't be able to get any more in just because of the nature of the job, the travel side of it. And I think the more you try to squeeze in, the more it dilutes the consistency of the squad coming together as the strongest unit, really, because people will then start to pick and choose what they want to turn up to, and it just dilutes the whole thing, really. So if you can try and keep that balance with enough fixtures to keep you ticking over, but not too many that it just becomes like a free-for-all, really. Yeah.
Well, have you got any rhymes?
That was definitely a loaded question, considering Pat's play the Marines, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great. Some Pats play the Royal Marines in May, and obviously I think Craig were there trying to tap you up for a game later in the season at Pats, weren't you? I bet.
A little bit, yeah.
I can see the clock's ticking. Although we're not even in the same house, I can see what he's thinking in his head. We'll get the DB.
We're always, we're always. Sometimes fixtures just work for our schedule. The general ones, when we have the Challenge Cup at the beginning of the year, and we have the three fixtures for the President's Cup in March, April, and May. We then have we try and avoid the school holidays or that summer period again, because schools, people are off on leave with families. We also have a lot of carnivals and events that run throughout the summer months, which impacts on policing and time off as well in that respect that we have to consider. But we are always looking for different types of fixtures and, to certainly mix things up. So yeah, if it works, then it's funny actually, because we should have been playing our first President's Cup fixture. Was tonight against England Universities at Castleford Lock Lane. But I think because of the recent sort of weather, the pitch is not in the best condition. Well, that'll have a double-headed, of games on it tonight. So the game has been postponed, unfortunately. But it will now be at Wigan St. Pat's in a month's time. So
really?
We have got a game there. Yeah.
At Pat's?
It's at Wigan St. Pat's is the next one, yeah.
They are, Craig?
Yeah. So there's one at so the next one they've moved all the schedule around, but St. Pat's, Castleford Lock Lane, and then Orrell.
What date? What date are you coming to Pat's? So if you didn't know, we're from St. Pat's.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, let me just, because it's literally just changed as we speak. So we should have been playing tonight. So Wigan St. Pat's against England students or the universities on the 24th of April.
Day after St. George's Day.
Yeah, that's it. So 24th. Yeah.
Oh, we best get on over it, haven't
we? That's it.
Right. So before we get on onto the next stuff. So if you've said, obviously there's some good quality players playing who play on a Saturday and a Sunday at amateur sides. You're in the Challenge Cup and you draw Castleford Lock Lane, let's say, and you've got a couple of cops who play for Castleford Lock Lane. Which jersey are they strapping on? Have you ever had that before where they have to...
we have this battle quite regular, believe it or not. And it's just a case for us that Bob will get into those players and just say, look, remember that the chance or the opportunities to represent GB Police don't come around too often. We'd like you to be turning out for us. We certainly can't make you do that. But actually,
you won't go to Australia if you turn out for anyone else.
Yeah, that's it. But also remember that there's a 2-week trip to Australia, so the decision goes, lads. And we usually get a win out of that. But no, we do have it, you know, and we'll speak with players and depending on what players we have available at that time, who's coming into the squad, who's going out of it. Most are generally happy to turn out for us. But it is something we have to consider year on year. Yeah.
Anything from you, Craig?
Yeah, I just want to talk quickly about rivalry. Do you have a rival? I mean, it's Good Friday this week, and obviously bringing in Saints, we have the same when we have Derby. Do you have a Derby? Do you have somebody you think, right, we've got these coming up, and I mean, Army Navy counts.
Not particularly. Everyone we play against likes to think it's a rivalry when they're playing against a place, don't they? But I suppose if anybody, a fixture that we've had sort of regular over the last few years has been against the prison service.
Okay.
So I suppose it's kind of in that same arena. Again, a great bunch of lads, but on the field, you know, they like to get stuck in. And if we turn up there with an attitude of this is going to be easy or we're not quite on our game, you know, they will turn us over. So yeah, I suppose that's been a great fixture for us the last few years, and has brought out some tremendous battles with them as a good one.
Police versus prison service, right? We're getting on that. Yeah. That's the next festival. That is the police versus inmates next.
Did you see that Union documentary that they did with the World Cup winners? They went into prison, didn't they? Martin Johnson, Johnny Wilkinson.
Yeah.
They tried to turn the side out, didn't they? I was like, wow. Are you happy to move on to the final thing then before we finish? Because for me, it's just bringing it back now to the community, because obviously I've noticed that you're playing against Warrington, Select, Seam, and the 5th of May. Obviously, you've already mentioned the relationship you've got with Portico and Warrington and Cheshire and Merseyside are using their ground. So in terms of community, obviously you're West Yorkshire, so it might not be as fresh to you as it is to the guys who organise from those forces. But West Yorkshire, all over there, do you have those community links that are forged, and you do turn out to events like that to support the community cause, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, so all our community work comes through another West Yorkshire officer who was actually a good friend of mine. We were both at university together, then had to both join the police. Both represent West Yorkshire. We've played together, and then we retired at a similar time as well. So Alex Daniels, he's a former player who is our works closely with myself on a match day, but is our community and social media lead. So Alex, over recent years, you know, as much as we wanted to try and improve things on the field, you know, professionalise the police in terms of, you know, how we got players involved in the game, who we played against, right down to kit and, you know, setting out changing rooms on the day. But ultimately, as a police or, you know, representing the police service, what could we do off the field in the community as well? And sort of we got around the table, and certainly, you know, headed by Alex, sort of decided on sort of hospital visits at Christmas and Easter.
I was going to bring that up because we've just pumped out those at Easter, haven't you, which is just absolutely incredible.
That's right. So that's been running a few years now, and we've done it on tours previously. So when we've been to Australia, when we've been to America, we've always gone into schools, we've gone into hospitals, giving out merchandise to sick children, etc. And it's really quite a humbling experience, and it's always gone down really well. We have Alfie the Lion, our mascot, which someone always draws a short straw to have to go in and sweat to death in that for a Yeah, that's it.
The team man is a water boy. It's Alfie the Lion.
Yeah, Alfie the Lion. So they're the roles. There's Water Carrier and Alfie, if you both fancy them.
I bet that was warm in 80-degree heat in New South Wales.
Oh yeah, this is it. Oh yeah, someone always draws a short straw off that one. But we didn't take it with us this time. We were doing sort of that much aside from it. We didn't need to take it with us, but it's gone everywhere else. It's gone all over the world as that thing. But no, the kids love it, and yeah. So Easter visits delivering Easter eggs. West Yorkshire, Pinderfield side, Leeds General Infirmary. Same at Christmas, delivering toys and gifts. And then Alex, or through Alex, will coordinate visits at the across the border. So we've gone to Alderhay Children's Hospital at Merseyside. Some of the lads have done visits in Greater Manchester, and that's been running for a few years now. And again, it's been absolutely fantastic, really. And just to touch on really as well, aside from our main men's side, we have a GB Masters team that's now thriving as well. And also there are steps in motion at the minute, which is looking really positive to start up a GB women's team as well, which is absolutely fantastic. And we've had a real good response from that, and that's in its infant stages, but it's coming together nicely as well.
We push that so much on this channel that
we do.
I don't think rugby clubs will survive without a girls and women's side in the near future, because that is just exploding, and for the better. It's bringing so much more to clubs, and it's nice to see that the police have got on board that as well. So
we've covered this before, haven't we, Matt? We've covered that before, saying it's not a men's caveman sport anymore. Do you know what I mean? We've always used the terminology. It's a hooligan sport played by gentlemen, but now it's a hooligan sport played by anybody who wants to play it. And you're gonna need them numbers eventually. You know what I mean? Because nobody's gonna be able to sustain just thinking it's a man's sport anymore when it clearly isn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and and it's good for us. If I'd have thought that 5-10 years ago we've had a Masters team and a women's team that's going to be set up, I'd have been dreaming really. But again, it just takes that buy-in from people probably not playing the game, and that support network around it, from the bosses, right down to the management on the committee and the management, including myself and Bob and Alex and others as well. But I can honestly say that the rugby side, the police rugby side, is really well supported. And it's been fantastic over the years, and it's certainly going from strength to strength.
When do you think your next tour will be, and where to, or is that top secret? Is that in the planning now? When you come back off a holiday and you need to book your next one?
This is it. Yeah, it's tour blues. I keep getting messages off the lads saying, I'm really missing everybody. It's a bit of a funny one, really. But no, I suppose we come back now. We hit the reset button. We get involved in our national fixtures, if you like. We'll run back into the President's Cup, the Challenge Cup. The Australian police have already touched on the fact that when the World Cup is over here in 2026, they would like to bring a side over then potentially to play the Great Britain police. I've had the French police get in touch and say, on the back of your trip, we would like to play against you. Would you be prepared to come over to France? So there's some great options out there, but again, we just have to maybe set out a bit of a route map and see where we want to go. Like everything for us, it's not covered costings by the police. We have to find the funding, we have to get the squad built up again, and make sure we're in the right place to go and do those things. But there will be something in the future, no doubt. Well,
do us a favour and keep us in the loop in terms of undoubtedly we will be at Pat's on the 24th of April. Or certainly
we'll see you in person on the 24th.
But what I mean by that is, if the World Cup's coming to us in 2026 and me and Craig are still doing this, we'd love to come to a game or just do something around that, because that's massive. That's another World Cup on English soil, isn't it? Which I think is massive, and it'll be at the community clubs. I'm guessing. I'm guessing a final might be at St Helens again or something like that. But the games in the build up to it will be at local, either West Yorkshire or GM or Cheshire or Merseyside areas. So we'd certainly love to jump on board that.
Absolutely, and aside from that, we do come across some real great fixtures. We have our general games, shall we say, that run through the Challenge Cup and President's Cup, but in amongst that there are some nuggets like New South Wales Police coming over that attract some attention. Certainly, I think it's great what you guys are doing, and if there's any opportunity for us to spread the word for Police Rugby League and the community game in general, then more than happy for you to
absolutely. No, that's great. That's great. I think obviously, like you said, Alex has grabbed that social media by the scruff of the neck and is doing good things. So hopefully we'll pick it up that way. But like I say, if there is anything that's coming up that you think would be interesting in, please just drop us an email, drop us a call. You've got my mobile number. Just drop me a quick message and we'll sort that, because I think I've enjoyed tonight, and I look forward to seeing some of the stuff that comes out of it. And I might even get over to Warrington on 4th of May as well for that charity day. Is it something like that?
That's right. Yeah, it is. It's an ex-league fixture against the Warrington Select side. So again, the Great Britain Police are going to go over there. Some from the men's team, some from the Masters team. So it's a bit of a mix again, sort of from both. And that's raising funds for St Rocco's Hospice and Halton Haven Hospice. So again, cracking event. It's going to be a family fun day. I think the mascot, the Alfred Line, is going to be there. The Warrington mascot is going to be there. We've got some merchandise. So, yeah.
No, that's big shout out to Warrington who are sorting that out as well. So you play next league, are you? You're not playing.
It's an ex-league fixture, is that one? Yeah.
Covering that soon. We're intrigued on ex-league. Smacking the ball.
We've covered it in our magazine because Carl Mercer he's reached out to us. He's done an article for our magazine which comes out or will be out by the time this comes out. Going into it, and it strikes me as it's a good blend of touch and contact. Is it? So for those who are a little bit older, like Craig, it probably works in his favour not to have the full contact, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, that's right. I said I might even take my boots for that one myself as well. But
to be
fair, that he's fine in it, but you can't stop an hamstring going no matter what you're doing. So
I'm too lazy for that.
That'll be a good day. Again, something that if we can get involved in, we certainly love to do it.
Right, Chris. Listen, mate. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving up your free time to speak to us. It's been an absolute pleasure tonight to meet you. I'm saying that word "meet" again, but I've not actually met you yet. But we will meet you on
24th of April. We will though.
The 24th of April, which is a Wednesday, I believe. You know what
it is the Wednesdays, the President's Cup are all Wednesdays. I'll send you. I'll certainly drop you a message with the fixture schedule on it.
And then you've got it. So we will see you on the 24th. Like I said, thanks for coming on. It's great insight that was into police rugby. It was fantastic. Anything from you, Matty?
No. Apart from, like I said, just to extend my gratitude as well. Like you just said, thanks ever so much for giving up your time, and thanks for being the flag bearers for community rugby within the police.
Yeah, no. Thanks again. Thanks for having me, and please pass on my regards to Jimmy as well, and tell him I'll see him shortly.
All the best, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, gents. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. That was a really good insight to rugby, wasn't it? Especially going over to Australia and that.
Yeah, definitely.
24.
Recording. That's been tuning in, folks. That's been another Fat Monkey podcast. I've been Craig.
I've been Matt.
All the best. Monkey out.
Monkey out, you crank.